What's up everyone? In this video we're going to be talking about the top 3 dangers of becoming successful too quickly or too easily. And this video is specifically useful for people who are going to achieve success one day and want to prepare for that, or have achieved success fairly easily or fairly early on in their lives. So in terms of success, in this video, we will be defining it specifically as gaining a lot of money or gaining a lot of fame, or both of those together. Now, obviously, as you progress and you mature and you learn about different people and stuff, you can oftentimes define success in a lot of different ways, like family, relationships, marriage, all that sort of stuff. Number one, the biggest thing, and I think, again, all of these are very important and you should really keep your lid on them. The biggest thing is that you get too cocky, you get too arrogant, you think that life is really easy, when in reality, you either lucked out or something just helped you along. And that's not always the case. So if some people got really successful in these ways very early on in their career, and they worked really hard for it. Justin Bieber, like it or not, he worked really hard to get to where he got to. Most people don't know it or realize it because it's not something that's mentioned a lot. He hustled, he went to every single radio station to pitch his song. He worked non-stop. Has he gotten kind of cocky or arrogant in the past few years? Possibly. And so I think that's something that's very important. Even if you work really hard, you can still very easily just lose sight of things, or just think that you're God's gift to the world and you're better than everyone else. Just because you made a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean you're better than anyone else in any way. I mean, there's people I respect a lot and they're not making a lot of money. They're local high school teachers, but they're amazing people, very ethical. They're helping all the students out. They're inspiring people. They're working really hard. They're staying later than they need to, where they're not even getting paid, that sort of stuff, you know? So keep that in mind. And then, nowadays especially, and I think this will happen more and more, which scares me, there's so many children and kids, and I say this lightly because technically they're teenagers, but there's a lot of people in their early 20s who are making it big very quickly. Not everyone, they're probably a percentage of 1%, but nonetheless, that's a large percentage of people. And I'm talking about the people who start up an Instagram account, and before they know it, they're getting offered modeling gigs left and right. $10,000 here, $10,000 there. And they think life is so easy and everything's in the palm of their hands. And that can be very dangerous, which leads us to the second reason. Early success does not necessarily mean later success. So sometimes the dangers of early success not only make you think that, oh, you can do it easily, when in reality, maybe you lucked out, maybe you can't recreate that. Early success can oftentimes put you in a false state of complacency and just make you just pig out, do whatever you want. And that can lead to other problems, such as you thinking that this will last forever, and then you spend every dime you have, every modeling gig or Vine promotion you do, or whatever else, however you got that money or fame or whatever, and then all of a sudden it goes away, it dissipates somehow. For whatever reason, maybe the economy takes a downturn, maybe you have gotten into a really bad car accident and now you're hideously ugly, and no one will pay you for a modeling gig, and because you spent the greater part of your early 20s just partying away and spending every last dime that you make, now you're kind of screwed because you don't even have a degree. Or it just so happens that you start aging, your looks start fading, and then things don't work. or your social following just dissipates. I mean, it happens. It doesn't happen to every single top YouTuber, but I've seen it happen in terms of YouTube. I've seen it happen in terms of certain Instagrams. Vines, not so much because it's such a new thing, but I've seen it happen for sure on YouTube. And I've known some big MySpace stars, and everyone knows what happened to MySpace. It does happen. Like, one great example is Beaner Kiki. He's also known as Keenan Cahill, and I think he's a really cool dude. He lip syncs on YouTube, and his videos went viral. Eventually, he got to a point where he started bringing in top celebrities to lip sync with him. Now, it was going really, really well. He's getting hundreds of thousands of views on each of his videos, and then for whatever reason, it just stopped coming. And he still does lip syncs to this day. But here's the thing, he gets about 10,000 views per video now. And his videos are, for the most part, thumbed down and disliked. Which kind of sucks because, you know, this guy honestly has a very inspiring story. He has a lot of physical disabilities that he had to overcome, a lot of problems. And for him to keep going despite all the hatred and all that stuff and all the stuff he's been through, I just find that really inspiring. And it sucks, and I relate to him, and I remember watching one of his videos and reading the comments, and they're just horrible, horrible comments saying very, horrible stuff to him, and then saying how his 15 minutes of fame is gone. And that sucks. That sucks. And I don't know why he hasn't disabled comments. I don't know why he's still doing it, but I think it's because, maybe he wants to inspire people. And if so, I find that really cool. And it sucks that that happens. And again, you might be saying, okay, well, I'm probably never going to be a superstar on social media, whether it's Vine, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Again, the same thing applies to so many other areas. You could have made $1 million in your first business. Believe it or not, I've heard quite a few stories of very young people, and this happened to them. And for the most part, they worked really, really hard to get there. Having said that, though, especially when you do it so quickly. And then the third and final top reason that success could be a bad thing is it can bring a lot of other problems that you are unprepared for. So these come in a lot of different ways, and a lot of successful people, a lot of millionaires, billionaires have mentioned them. And this is probably the biggest myth that needs to be shattered. A lot of people think that if you're rich or if you're successful or you're famous, you have no problems and everything's fine and dandy. And it's basically like this linear correlation. The more poor you are, the more unhappy you are. The more rich you are and famous you are, the more happy you are. You know that's not true. Come on. Like, it doesn't require rocket science for you to understand that. It doesn't require you to read a ton of books from successful people, watch a lot of videos, interviews. It's just common sense. But again, there's also a lot of science and statistics and surveys that support that. The point is that rich people, successful people, famous people, they can, not always, but oftentimes, they can have just as many problems, if not more problems. The only difference is that they are different problems from what poor people or unsuccessful people have. And I think, ultimately, the most successful person is someone who deals with his problems, whether he's successful in terms of money or anything. And he keeps himself grounded and he deals with them no matter what they are. And in terms of what type of problems you might be asking, because you're just like, how could they have any problems? It could be a variety of stuff. For instance, lack of privacy. Every little thing, everything you try and send to your family, every public place you go, you can't do anything. You're being constantly harassed and barraged by a lot of in-your-face abuse, verbally, or whatever else. If you have a ton of money, you have all these other problems potentially. You don't know who you can actually trust because everyone knows you're rich, and then you don't know if they're gold diggers or they're only being nice to you because you have money. but now you can't even tell who's who, and you just don't want to go digger, but you can't tell. And then the most ironic part was that when you were poor, you were so bitter about it, and you said, girls only like rich people. And it's like both ways you lose. Again, I'm kind of saying this tongue-in-cheek because if we were to take a more serious perspective and I were to do more of my serious videos, I think there's like more to it that might help you. But I do think that is a very true ironic dilemma or type of circular reasoning that a lot of people use on the internet. And then just to round it up, the third final example of a possible problem would be, since you have all this money and everyone knows it, then everyone's trying to get money from you. Everyone's trying to like take money from you. Everyone's saying, oh, you have so much money. What does it matter if you just gave me $10,000? What's that to do with it? Like, that's nothing compared to how much you have. And then it sucks even more, especially if you worked really hard for it and you worked for every cent of that, and then they just assume that you got it very easily. So again, these are just all hypotheticals to get your mind stirring and thinking for the day. As always, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I will see you in my next video. Peace.